Yeah, and let's hope that they do deliver. But one thing London will certainly get right is will be a party atmosphere right the way through the city. But let's return to Beijing 2008 and let's get a comment from the three people who will be taking us through tonight's closing ceremony. Huw Edwards, Carrie Gracie and Hazel Irvine. Huw, if I can start with you, there was so much debate before these games started. How will Beijing be remembered as far as China is concerned?
First thing, Sue, is that we are getting in the mood, okay? We've been issued with our own Olympic torches, 90,000 plus people in the stadium, and I feel it's only right that we show a bit of willing, and Hazel and Carrie and I are going to do that during the ceremony itself. You made an important point, Sue. Lots of questions at the start of this Olympic Games, and clearly lots of them haven't been answered. It'll take several years to answer the questions about freedoms in China. Tonight, the big focus on just 8 minutes in this closing ceremony, 8 minutes when London gets its chance to invite the rest of the world to our capital city in London in 2012. David Beckham leading the way. I think it's going to be a pretty special 8 minutes.
And moving over to Carrie, if we go back, I mean, you know this place very well, you know the city very well, but I know you've been going outside of the city boundaries, and how has the Games been received as far as the people of China are concerned?
Well, they've all been watching. I mean, Matthew was just saying there that, you know, it's all consumed in the outside world on television. Well, the same is true actually in China. 800 million people rather watch the opening ceremony here in China on TV. And elsewhere they're doing the same. Not that many people can afford to come to Beijing for the Games themselves, certainly not the farmers who still make up the bulk of the country. But they've been absolutely glued to their televisions. They are thrilled with their 51 golds. And they're just so proud that China has hosted the world and it's all gone off smoothly. So I think the whole country does really feel involved, engaged and proud.
Thanks, Karen. It's wonderful seeing the venues here, the Water Cube on the right, the magnificent Bird's Nest Stadium, and they've been taking pictures of that all the time as well. They're so proud of their venues. But Hazel, if I can come to you, I mean, you and I have been to a number of games. How do you think this one compares to the others?
So I think it's been fantastically well organised games, spectacular in so many ways, and for me it's the iconic venues as you've just been looking at there, the Water Cube and this Bird's Nest Stadium, giant sporting sculptures right in the heart of Beijing, which will always live with me, and therein the quality of performance that we've seen from the world's athletes. I think it's the sport really that has spoken first, and nothing has been allowed to get in the way of that. These have been an athlete-centred games.
Thanks very much, Hazel, and I hope you three have got it right and you don't hold the torches up at the wrong time. Anyway, thanks very much for that. Back to Michael and Steve, and we're talking about Team GB earlier, and Steve, they have exceeded all expectations. The pressure's on. I mean, wonderful medal haul.
Definitely, there's no question about the medal haul. That's absolutely unbelievable to what we thought we might get. Somewhere between 10 and 15, someone was saying about 12 was where we're looking for gold medals. To get 19 is a very, very big step forward. But as you can see here, this is quite a plan here of where sports have predicted what they would get. Cycling have been the outstanding performance of everything. Swimming have done really well. Rowing has done well as sailing and boxing. You've got to look at the other side of the table, really, of some of the other sports. Some of the other sports it's quite difficult because they don't get very many chances. So it's trying to make an influence there. What they on that side of the table of athletics, equestrian, badminton, diving, all that side of it, they've got to learn from the sports on the other side of the infrastructure, the way that they're structuring their athletes, their coaches, their support staff of that. I think some of those other sports aren't really sort of holding back and saying, well, no, we do it our way, this is the way to do it. You've got to learn from success, and there's a lot of success coming from a lot of fewer sports in some ways, but I'm sure they're going to take on that as a note this time and think, right, in 4 years' time, this build-up, look at cycling and what they're doing. How can we copy that? Cycling are not going to have it all their own way in the next 4 years because everyone's been watching them, photographing their bikes and trying to get up close to their suits and trying to develop it, and they're going to really struggle, I think, to maintain the gold medals that they've got. But what a haul they've got this time! If we can get just to the 4 or 5 in 4 years' time, I think that would be good enough. But the other sports have to step up to the mark as well. There's a lot of funding going in. We've got to use it in the right way.
Absolutely, but it's been a wonderful celebration here, it really has. Well, Huw mentioned that there's going to be an 8-minute segment here when Beijing hands over to London, and David Beckham will feature in that. He's going to be on a bus. It's probably been a long time since he went anywhere on a bus. Anyway, he'll be out centre stage a little bit later on this afternoon, but earlier he spoke to Gary Richardson.
So you've been in Beijing just a short while. Can you sense the incredible atmosphere?
Yeah, you could sense it, as soon as you arrived. There's so much changed in Beijing within a year. To be honest, I was here a year ago and there's so much changed. But I got the feeling and the atmosphere actually from being in London last week. I was able to watch so much of the games while I was bored in my room, and it gave me a chance to catch up with everything, and you can actually sense the atmosphere in the country.
If you could have competed in any Olympic event, what would you have chosen?
I was pretty good at 1500 metres when I was at school, so that would probably be my distance. But the heat out here, I'm not sure how I would have done actually.
Yeah, and who's caught your eye particularly? Who have you enjoyed watching?
I think there's many of the athletes. I think the whole Great Britain team has been incredible. I think there's been so many successes within the team. Chris Hoy, of course, that for me was emotional, because it's nice to see, he's got his parents here and his dad getting so emotional and telling everybody his story about, when he was a kid and the sacrifices that he had to make. So I think hearing that, it reminded me of, when my dad used to talk about me not going out and drinking orange juice and going to bed early. So, Michael Phelps, of course, seeing him win the 8 gold medals was pretty incredible. Usain Bolt, I think that's great for kids to watch. For me, that was that's a special moment in the Olympics, because you can see the excitement, you can see he's enjoying himself, and you always say to kids that whatever they're doing, they've got to enjoy it, and you can see that he enjoyed it.
So you're involved in the closing ceremony tonight. What are you going to be doing?
I'm in London bus, and apparently I come up on a lift and I'm holding a football and I kick it into the crowd, hopefully. So
just one ball?
Just one ball, hopefully. Yeah. So no, I'm looking forward to it. I was honoured to be, put on the committee first of all, when we was trying to get the bid. And then obviously asked to come over here and be in the closing ceremony is a big honour for me.
Kicking that ball though, you've taken penalties and dramatic free kicks. You haven't got to sort of get it in a target tonight. But you probably feel even more pressure, don't you, kicking that?
Yeah, because usually I'm comfortable playing football, but being on a lift in a London bus in a stadium, it's something that I've never done before, and luckily I've only got to kick the ball into the athletes, I think.
And coming from London, I guess you feel sort of great pride, 2012.
Yeah, especially being an East End boy, I'm very proud of that. It's obviously where it's all happening and where all the changes are going to be going on, and it's very proud for myself, it's very proud for everyone that's involved in the bid and everyone that's brought the bid to London, to East London. So it's going to be incredible.
And you'll be leading up to sort of 2012. If you're not playing at the highest level, could you manage the British team?
I don't know about. I've always said I'm never keen on being a manager. So,
but just for a fortnight, it would be neat, wouldn't it?
Who knows? You never know.
Lovely to see you. Pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
Certainly hope he'll be there. He will be out. He's been such a supporter of the Olympics, and it will be great to see him out there. I'm sure you'll get a massive cheer, because he is a great hero here in China. But that bit will be when Beijing hands over to London. Then the countdown to 2012 can begin, and the celebrations are going to start very soon. In fact, right after this closing ceremony, we can go live to London and join Claudia Winkleman, and I believe you've got quite a party planned.
We're here live in London. The crowds have started coming in, and we are getting ready to party and celebrate the moment when London officially becomes the host city for the Olympics in 2012. There's a spectacular cast of stars warming up backstage. We've got Will Young, McFly, Scouty for Girls, Catherine Jenkins, The Feeling. The list just goes on. It's going to be huge, so join us straight after the Beijing closing ceremony. See them.
Thanks very much, Claudia. Look forward to that. Wow, what an afternoon and evening you've got coming up. Don't go away from the television.